Kevin Hunter and Kyle Torgerson in studio here on Northwest Digital News. Chris Bornstead is taking the day off. He'll be back with us on Wednesday. It is a beautiful Monday morning, July 23rd. Kyle, kick us off with some weather.
The weather. So, best part is, this is probably one of the easiest forecasts I've ever had to do. It's going to be sunny for the rest of the week, except for next Monday. It's going to be partly cloudy. But it's going to be basically 90, even going to 89, just for the rest of the week. Today's going to be a high of 91 and a low of 52, but it's just going to be 90.
So 90 degrees through the whole week, lots of sun. But, you know, people have to practice a little safety around this because people in this area aren't really accustomed to this kind of temperature. And can be true really in any areas of the country. I was sharing last Friday that this past week when I was coming across country from Milwaukee and through Minnesota and the Dakotas and Montana and Idaho, we actually got into Spokane and it was 103 degrees there when we were going through. It was just like crazy how hot it was. But with the heat being up, there are a few precautions or things that you should be aware of because heat can cause a number of different injuries. Not only to people, but to pets, and even cause damage to other like pieces of property and things like that that you might own. If you got something in your car, as an example, and your windows are up and it's sitting on the back window of the vehicle, I've seen somebody's toy or other device get completely destroyed by the heat of the sun through the back window of the car. So, pretty crazy stuff. So, Kyle, what are some of the things that somebody might want to consider if they're out and about in the hot weather?
Well, always carry a water bottle with you. That is literally number one. Always have water. You never have enough water. Always have water.
I noticed you got water in front of you today, even though you're in an air-conditioned studio.
Yeah, trying to stay hydrated.
Trying to stay hydrated.
Some of you, since it's the heat, you like to stay inside. That's okay. You don't have to go outside if you don't have to. So stay indoors in an air-conditioned environment as much as possible, unless you have to like work out on a roof or go do something. Stay inside.
Or pick up and move rocks like Kyle has done a little bit of here lately.
So many rocks.
Moving rocks from one flower bed to another, well, on a super hot day, that can be quite the
All the while, his daughter was bringing the rocks from the pile I was dumping them into back to the part I was digging. So.
At a lesser rate, though, because she was only carrying one stone in each hand.
It's a thought that counts.
Yeah. So if we didn't need to say this, but we will. If you have pets and you take them to town, don't lock them in your car and leave your windows up. You wouldn't do that for your little children either. So don't leave a living being inside the vehicle with the windows up at all this week. It's just bad advice. So make sure that you don't do that. And then when Kyle was talking about just staying hydrated, on that list of things to hydrate yourself, that wouldn't include beverages that can contain a lot of sugar, because that actually doesn't help you at all in a heat condition. Beverages that contain lots of caffeine, and beverages that contain lots of, what would be another one?
Caffeine, sugar,
alcohol. Yeah. Hot weather. You hear about people going, well, I'm going to crack a cold beer out in the yard. Yeah, not a really great idea to be drinking alcohol in high heat temperatures. I have seen people suffer from heat stroke and dehydration. And the thing to know about both alcohol and caffeine is they do push the water out of the cells of the body and dehydrate you. So don't be drinking a lot of booze and caffeine when it's really hot outside. Bad deal. All right, Kyle, what else we got on the show today?
Well, we do have some economy stuff, and at the very end, some gut check.
Some gut check, yes. And that actually comes back to this bottle of water that both of us have here on the broadcast desk. We actually get a lot of questions about it, and that's why we'll cover it again, along with some other details that you might have been missing out on. So among the many components, economic news that have been shared here in this past month, as everybody's been aware, we don't really hear much of this in mainstream media because I think we know why now. they don't necessarily want the American public to believe that under the current president, things are going in the right direction. But there's all kinds of news and facts and data that are showing that it actually is. And so before Kyle shows some of this job report information, because we have, by the way, Chris Bourne says, I see the handsome guy isn't there today. Too bad. Nice way to patronize yourself, Chris. All right, we'll let you get away with it. So among all the different indications that things are moving in the right direction in the country, and in all fairness, this statistic has been declining to a given degree now for a little while. But since Trump took office, November 2016, there were 43 million people in the United States on welfare. June 1st, 2018, that number has now dropped to 40.1 million people. Almost 3 million people have dropped off. Actually, the number is a little more than 43 where it started from, so it is pretty much on the nose. 3 million people have dropped from the welfare rolls in the U.S. So one of the things you might ask is, well, what has happened in given sectors or given pockets of the economy? I see you have up the job growth chart there, the new milestones and job report. Go ahead and put that up on the screen, and let's take a look at that here first. So this is reported by New York Times on June 1st. New milestones and job reports signal a bustling economy. The New York Times has had to pain them a little bit to write this because they're not fans of Donald Trump either. American economy roared into overdrive last month. The Labor Department reported Friday, extending the longest streak of job growth on record and echoing other recent signs of strength, like even the declines in welfare that we talked about. Unemployment rate fell to 3.8%, its lowest level since the heady days of the dot-com boom back in early 2000. The net increase of 223,000 jobs reflected healthy gains in a broad range of industries, from manufacturing and transportation to healthcare and retailing. And I think the best news in all of this is that right up front there is manufacturing and transportation, significant improvements in jobs in those areas. And what happens when you have an increase in jobs in manufacturing, you will have a snowball effect of jobs that happen in other sectors automatically. So really cool to see jobs coming back to manufacturing here in the United States, because jobs, particularly in those sectors, have been jobs that have been in steep decline for a long, long time. So seeing that come back, very healthy numbers. Now let's take a look at some of the areas of unemployment among minorities. And Kyle, you have one on both the unemployment numbers for blacks and unemployment number for Hispanics. Bring one of those charts up here if you would. So this is published by CNN Money for those of you who want to follow this online with your own research. Black unemployment rate fell to 5.9% in May, the lowest since the government started keeping track in 1972. That's pretty dang good. So it is a notoriously volatile number, but the trend is clear. The economy is strong. Everyone's reaping the rewards. Glad to see this impact. As the overall unemployment rate continues to fall, the lowest since 2000, it's also shrinking the gap between black and white unemployment. So I mentioned earlier that unemployment overall across the country is at 3.8%. 5.9 among the black community, and great to see those jobs coming back there too. So how about the Hispanic group? What do we have there? Go down in the document here a little bit. It mentions Ivanka Trump says Hispanic unemployment is at its lowest rate ever, and she's right. The president's daughter, a senior White House advisor, flagged the statistic Friday morning shortly after the Labor Department released the unemployment numbers. The Hispanic unemployment rate fell to 4.7%, down from 4.8. So again, some fantastic news there as far as so we're just looking at the overall economy. We're seeing housing across the country just booming, doing fantastic. In fact, here in the state of Washington, even I think the appreciation of a home in the Seattle area right now, projected for next year, same time next year, is around 12% increase in value in a single year's time. And there's several pockets of the country where it's at 7%. I don't mean the country, the state. And then several areas in the state of Washington where it's at 5%. It's fantastic news. For those of you who have a home or own a home, it's very clearly a buyer's market, will continue to be a buyer's market for probably the next couple of years. And I know some people who have houses and think about them that, hey, let's just get rid of this house, let's move on if you no longer have use or need of the home. But you have to compare this then, if you're a smart business person or somebody who invests in other things, it doesn't matter if it's gold, silver, stock, bonds, whatever. You have to look at your home as well as an investment and what's happening with that investment, and dumping it in the midst of a rapidly inflationary market where the value of homes are going up substantially, appreciating substantially, that you might think twice about getting rid of this home, because it would be no more intelligent than if you had a stock or a bond or et cetera, that was out there doing extremely well, and you decided, I just want to get rid of it because I don't want to have to think about it or worry about it anymore. And like, oh, you don't want the return on your money is what you're saying. Sounds kind of stupid, doesn't it? So anyway, some great economic news, and as measured by unemployment overall at 3.8%, the lowest since 2000. The unemployment numbers among Hispanics down. The unemployment numbers among the black community down. Welfare numbers dropped 3 million people since November 2016. All around the board, great economic news. And we haven't even talked about the things that happened in the tax plan and how that impacted people and the returns people got, the money they saved on taxes. We're just going to continue to see other indications of how strong the economy actually has been under President Trump. Kyle, your thoughts?
Well, for one, I see that we have a lot of followers, or not followers, but people watching us on Twitch. So don't forget to follow. There's like a little heart icon. Click that, and you get notifications saying, hey, we're live. So do that. It's pretty cool. We talk about this all the time. We also talk about like health later on the shows, and yeah, we do some pretty cool shows.
Stay tuned. That's coming up next.
Stay tuned.
All right. So that's it for our report on the economy. A lot of other stuff that we could share, but tons of great indications that things are moving in the right direction. So Kyle mentioned we're talking about health. And, sitting on the broadcast desk here, I have a water bottle that, to some of you who can see this, you'll notice that it's a little cloudy. And so is the water that Kyle has. And the reason being is that, Kyle, go ahead and flash this on the screen. In the water that we're drinking is apple cider vinegar, and we use Bragg's a lot. There's many other brands out there, but what you want to look for is this nice little logo right about here that says "With the Mother."
I have a thing for this.
You have a thing for that. Right there it says "With the Mother." Yes. So you want to make sure that it's organic, which if you move your little pointer up a little higher, Kyle, it's right there. Organic says that on the bottle, and with the mother. So if you're buying apple cider vinegar, you want to make sure that it's that. Now, why would you do this? Why would you use apple cider vinegar?
Well, apple cider vinegar has the same acidic level as your stomach acid. So let's say you don't have enough stomach acid and your food's digesting slowly. That's kind of how you get upset stomach. Well, drink some apple cider vinegar, get some more acid down there, digests your food faster, you get more nutrients, and you don't have to worry about the tummy ache. That
bloating and all that other kind of stuff. That's a really interesting point there, Kyle, because a lot of people go out, if you go to, it doesn't matter if it's a department store like or retailer like Walmart, doesn't matter if you're going to the drugstore like Walgreens, etc. There is usually an entire aisle set up for nothing but antacids. So things like Pepcid, Prilosec, etc. My wife was actually on those back in her college days, dealing with acid coming up in the throat, etc., and indigestion, bloating gut, all of that kind of good stuff. That is entirely from having not enough acid in your gut. All of those problems are entirely from not having enough acid in your gut. So for people who then throw something like a Tums down there and actually raise the pH level even higher in your stomach, you're destroying that acid environment even more. So instead of putting pills and drugs and medications down there to try to stop this burning feeling from coming up the throat, put apple cider vinegar in water and get the acid level down to the 2.0 and 3.0 range where it should be, and the bloating, the acid reflux, all that kind of stuff stops immediately when your stomach acid gets fixed. So you want to use apple cider vinegar for that. There's so many other fantastic benefits of this besides just what it does for your gut. It helps regulate blood sugar, helps detoxify your body, helps you burn fat. There's all kinds of good things that apple cider vinegar does. So now another one that I want to put up on the screen here, because this is all part of gut health. Another image you want to pop up on the screen here is cayenne pepper. Now, do you have an idea why cayenne pepper and apple cider vinegar, why these two things work together?
No idea. I haven't really touched the cayenne pepper. That's a you thing.
Okay, so cayenne pepper is actually something that I've used when I have done multi-day fasting. And my wife and I have done this actually for years. And then I started adding cayenne pepper to a little dusting of it on all of my meals and using it on a daily basis. And I start recognizing that I not only have more energy, but I even feel even better. I was like, it had like an accelerating factor using apple cider vinegar and cayenne together. So I started researching this even more. And then some of the experts that I have developed many contacts with around the country were talking about cayenne pepper. And there's a really important reason why cayenne pepper should be a part of your diet as well. Apple cider vinegar gets your acid right. Cayenne pepper causes your digestive system to produce significantly more enzymes. So when you think about your macronutrients, which are your fats, your proteins, your carbohydrates, and water. Yes, water is one of your macronutrients. Those all require acids in order for your body to metabolize. But also among your macronutrients, they also rely in part on enzymes. And then all the micronutrients, like your vitamins and your minerals, also are reliant on acids and enzymes. So by adding cayenne pepper into your diet, putting a little dusting of it on your salad, on your burger, on your fried eggs, you know, any kind of food that you might be consuming, put a little dusting of cayenne pepper on everything, and you'll see your enzymatic production immediately go up. So two benefits of these two things sitting on top of on the background here today. Apple cider vinegar, great for acid. Cayenne pepper, great for enzyme production in your gut. These two components together will help create amazing gut health for everybody who's out there watching and listening to us today. It doesn't matter really what your health problems are. Good health starts with a healthy gut. Start doing this like tomorrow. And for people who would say, hey, cayenne pepper is pretty dang spicy, I'd go use just the little tiniest pinch of it and do that on your meals for a week. Then the next week, use a little bit larger pinch of it. Just steadily increase it. The same thing with apple cider vinegar. If you want to put a half a teaspoon in 12 ounces of water, you'll hardly even notice it's there. Do that for a week. And then go to a teaspoon or 3/4 of a teaspoon. Do that for a week. Then go to a couple teaspoons and eventually a tablespoon. And now I probably, when I do a bottle of water like this, I probably put a tablespoon and a half in it every single time I'm drinking water. So just move up. Start small, move up. Start small with the cayenne pepper, move up. Same thing. You start using these things right away in small doses and continue to increase, and you'll be coming back here thanking us over and over and over again for having introduced you to these two things. Now, one other thing that I want to talk about with this actually has to do with gut health as well, and that is intermittent fasting. So if you would, Kyle, bring up the article that we have on intermittent fasting. 10 evidence-based health benefits of intermittent fasting. This is actually something that my wife and I are doing regularly now. And so again, you start somewhere. So I want to explain to people how you're doing this. The goal that you're shooting for is actually to be fasting roughly 12 to 16 hours a day. Closer to 16 is better. And limiting your eating to that other 8 hours a day. So let me share with you how you maybe start doing this. If you're eating breakfast right now at 7 o'clock in the morning, start eating breakfast at 7:30 or even 8 o'clock. Do that for a week. And then move your breakfast out to 9 o'clock the following week, 10 o'clock the following week, and so on. You'll eventually get to where, like myself, my wife, and my family, we're eating breakfast noon, 1 o'clock every single day. We no longer have a so-called breakfast, although I eat very much of a breakfast kind of meal, but it's at noon or 1 o'clock. It's after our show's over each day. So anyhow, that's my first meal of the day. And the last meal of the day is around 6 or 7 o'clock. So we're actually even have less than a 8-hour window of which we're eating food. And we get a 16 to 17 hour intermittent fast every single day. So why would we do this? Why would we do this? First of all, you're giving your gut more rest than you're giving it work, and your digestive tract becomes very healthy. A whole litany of health problems go away the minute your gut health improves. But let's just take a look at some of these. Intermittent, number one on the top of the list, intermittent fasting changes the function of cells, genes, and hormones. And look at this. Look at these components down here. Insulin levels. Blood levels of insulin drop significantly, which facilitates fat burning. Throughout the night, and when you wake up in the morning, and all the way until this noon, 1 o'clock meal that I have, my body is in fat burning mode. Also, human growth hormone. The blood levels of growth hormone may increase as much as 5 times higher than the hormone level you would normally have by doing intermittent fasting. And what does human growth hormone do? But repair and rebuild cells. But it's doing it 5 times faster than it would normally if you weren't doing intermittent fasting. How cool is that?
Wow.
Is that pretty significant? Cellular repair, which is just goes hand in hand with HGH improvement. The body induces important cellular repair processes, such as removing waste material from the cell, so detoxifies you. And then gene expression. These are beneficial changes in several genes and molecules related to longevity and protection against disease. If you're worried about getting cancer or kidney disease or heart disease or all these different things, intermittent fasting is one of the preventions of any of these kinds of diseases in your body. Let's go down and take a look at number 2 that's on this list. There's 10 here, guys. This is exciting just talking about number 1, isn't it?
It's crazy.
There's 10 of these here, guys. Intermittent fasting can help you lose weight and belly fat. So yes, and it just very naturally, like you don't go on this rapid weight loss thing. What happens is you very naturally and at a very comfortable pace for you and your body will start shedding body fat and more, even equally, if more important, belly fat. So let's go down here and look at number 3. Intermittent fasting can reduce insulin resistance, lowering your risk of type 2 diabetes. What's happening with type 2 diabetes in this country right now?
Isn't it on the rise?
On a very significant rise, yes. It's exploding and has been exploding actually for a few decades. And it's because of our really bad habits, food habits that we have here in this country. So intermittent fasting lowers your risk of type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. Number 4, intermittent fasting can reduce oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. Bingo, there's the number 1 reason why I started doing this, because I have a 17-year run with rheumatoid arthritis. I wanted my joints and my knuckles and things like that to stop hurting. In conjunction with a high-fat diet and the other things that I do food-wise, intermittent fasting was like the sledgehammer to all of this, because it was amazing how much benefit I got, like overnight, starting to doing intermittent fasting. So huge reduction in pain in the body. Number 5, intermittent fasting may be beneficial for heart health. Do you have heart disease in your family? There's a number of different reasons why this is true, because remember when it said decrease insulin in the body before, Kyle? Whenever you're producing more insulin in the body, you are automatically producing more cholesterol too. Cholesterol is like a response to insulin, because insulin is actually very damaging to the heart and to the vascular system. The minute you start producing less insulin, you're doing less damage to the heart and the veins, and subsequently your body produces less cholesterol, because cholesterol is actually in your blood to not only feed the brain and the cells and stuff like that, but one of the functions of cholesterol, or what we've come to know as the so-called bad cholesterol that deposits in your veins, it's actually there to repair the damage done by insulin. So by reduced insulin, you have reduced cholesterol, and number 5, reduced risk of heart disease. How cool is that? Number 6, intermittent fasting induces various cellular repair processes. That was talked about in number 1, but you'll remove all kinds of waste from your body. Toxins, your body stores toxins all throughout the system. And you know what? One of the areas, this is kind of interesting, one of the areas in which your body stores a fairly significant amount of toxins, and this would surprise most people, is actually right next to your spinal column, from top to bottom, right next to your spine. And because there isn't a lot of circulation and movement in that area of the body, a lot of people develop all kinds of complications as a result of that toxicity that is stored in the fluids and the area right alongside the spine. But it happens because of lack of circulation there. So anyway, number 7, intermittent fasting may help prevent cancer. We talked about that before and why that would be the case, but another great benefit. Number 8, intermittent fasting is good for your brain, improves clarity of thought. For people who are suffering from symptoms that go along with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and all these various things that are happening out there, the brain function becomes a lot more clear, a lot more precise. If you're struggling with what people commonly call brain fog, where you forget things all the time, intermittent fasting, guys, it'll bring back a really nice, much sharper brain function than that you had before. So I already hit on this one. Intermittent fasting helps prevent Alzheimer's disease. How cool is that? And again, Alzheimer's, like diabetes, is a disease that's exploding here in the United States. And then last of all, intermittent fasting may extend your lifespan, helping you live longer. And so think about it. If intermittent fasting helps you become much more resistant to any kind of disease, what are the chances you live longer?
A lot.
Really good, yes. And if it helps regulate your blood sugars so that you have less insulin spikes and fewer responses of cholesterol, so you don't have problems with clogging of the arteries and issues like that, what are the chances are that you live longer?
Greatly.
Minus the possibility you get hit by a bus. Yeah, you live longer as a result of taking care of yourself. So we have shared 3 things here on the show that you could start doing immediately. And that is, add apple cider vinegar into your diet. Start putting it into your water that you're drinking. Do it with small amounts initially. Do that for a week and then keep adding to it. Add cayenne pepper so that in addition to having better stomach acid that you'll gain with using apple cider vinegar, you'll now produce more enzymes just by the simple use of cayenne pepper. So add those 2 things in. And then consider doing intermittent fasting. And again, start small. Think about this, that like a lot of people try to shift from this so-called unhealthy diet and lifestyle to, I'm going to start doing something healthy tomorrow. And this is what I share with people. If you're living a normal, healthy diet, getting some exercise, but just living a generally healthy lifestyle. If you go out and cheat one day and have a bad meal, are you immediately an unhealthy person? No. Not at all. It takes a while for you to beat your body up enough with this bad food and bad habits to where you go from a healthy person to an unhealthy person. Does not happen overnight. On the flip side of that, if you've been making all these poor choices with regard to your health, going from where you're at to a healthy lifestyle also does not happen overnight. Don't expect, like I've had people who said, I went from this high carb diet to this high fat keto diet, and I was sicker than a dog. And I'm like, yeah, you had the keto flu, or what's known as the keto flu. Your body's not accustomed to or adjusted to burning ketones for energy. It's been burning glucose for energy. So you're going to make small transitions. If you want to go to a high-fat diet like a keto diet, continually add better fats and more of them over a period of time into your diet. If you want your stomach acid, so you have your acid reflux and your bloated gut and your diarrhea and other conditions that are all related to poor gut, add a little apple cider vinegar into your diet, just a little, and keep increasing it over time. Same thing with cayenne pepper. So we've given you 3 great things: apple cider vinegar, cayenne pepper, intermittent fasting. Start doing those tomorrow, small amounts at a time, and increase to where you can be down the road, and you'll be absolutely amazed at what it all does for your health.
One thing about intermittent fasting that everyone thinks about is like, oh, I don't get to eat a lot. Well, you do get to eat. You eat basically the same amount of food.
Yeah,
it's just in that 8-hour period. So you're not like, okay, I skip breakfast entirely so I don't get to eat breakfast, but I do get lunch and dinner. No, you get brunch and then maybe like second lunch and then dinner.
Yeah.
You eat in the 8-hour period, and that's basically you condense it basically. So you eat them out the same.
And when you worked up to that intermittent fast being 16 hours. You didn't do it overnight. You worked up to it. So the neat thing about it is that as your digestive system continues to make that adjustment, you stop having what people commonly experience are cravings. The minute they go beyond a time frame they're used to as far as a meal. You start having cravings because of your body's reliance on carbohydrates and sugar. That's exactly why. So as you continue to move the cravings go away, you'll notice when I wake up in the morning, I'm not hungry in the least little bit. I used to be starving when I got out of bed in the morning, but I'm not hungry at all anymore when I get up in the morning, and I'm not hungry till noon, 1 o'clock comes around. And there have been plenty of times where 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, even 4 o'clock came around and I had not eaten yet and didn't feel one little like hunger pang or nothing. I was just fine. When your body has made this adjustment and becomes very efficient at using ketones for energy, it's a really, really level energy burn that you get, and you basically feel the same all day long.
Now, I was pretty dumb when I switched from how I was to intermittent fasting and the keto diet. I just kind of switched one day completely. Cold turkey. It was the dumbest mistake I've made, except I stuck with it. And then about maybe a week and a half or a week later, I woke up one day and it's just, I woke up and it was so clear. It like, usually when I wake up, it's like I want to go back to bed, but I jumped out of bed and it was so weird. I had so much energy, but it was awesome. So it's possible. Don't do what I did, but it's possible.
Now, do you know why you're burning fat in those hours leading up to when you consume your first meal of the day when you're doing intermittent fasting? Because at night, when you don't have food going into your digestive tract, your body switches over at some point during the night, switches over to using ketones for energy. So when you wake up in the morning, you're actually in ketosis. Now, you could be in a low-level ketosis or a high-level ketosis, but you're in some level of ketosis. Ketosis means you're burning fat. You're using, your pancreas is producing glucagon instead of insulin, and your body is on the hunt for stored sugar and stored fat, and that's what it's using for its energy. So you're burning fat, and if you delay that breakfast till 9 o'clock initially, and then eventually till 10, and then eventually till, you end up having a 16-hour period a day in which you are burning nothing but fat for energy. So
now,
pretty cool.
Another thing is, Kevin, what's the most important meal of the day?
People always said it was breakfast. I believe that like forever, and now I recognize that it's not at all.
And why is it not breakfast?
Why is it not breakfast?
Yeah,
because breakfast breaks the fast, and breakfast reduces the amount of time that you're on this, where your digestive tract is doing its healing. So instead of eating that breakfast now in the morning, it moves to lunch. And my most important meal of the day actually now is in that noon, 1 o'clock time frame. It is no longer breakfast. I believed my entire life till just a few years ago that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. And I never, ever missed breakfast for any reason. I thought people who did were stupid. And You know, it's kind of funny. Like, maybe I learned that from my parents. I have no idea where that information initially came from. But the beauty of it is that as adults, we can do research. And when we recognize that we're not getting the entirety of the benefit from something that we're doing, we can start asking the questions why. And I was smart enough to ask why and dug further into this, and then had the great benefit of running into somebody who introduced me to intermittent fasting and said, Kevin, you really got to do the research on this. And the more I started looking at it, like I told you, when you were sharing these 10 benefits of intermittent fasting, it was exciting after we talked about number 1. All right. So there is a laundry list of benefits that come out of this. And you know what? Here's my attitude on this. I have some people who come to me and ask for help on, making these adjustments. And I am always happy to help anyone do that. But if you have no intentions really of doing this, or if you're going, oh, I could never give up my breakfast, or I could never give up my, Snicker bar, or I could never give up whatever it is you're stuck on. Let me just ask you this. Is the cancer you're on track to getting, is that better? Or the Alzheimer's that your family has a history of, is that result better? Or, I have a family that has a history of colon cancer. Is that result better than giving up a Snickers bar or considering intermittent fasting or whatever? Are those things better? Are they more palatable? Are they easier for you to accept? That's all I'd ask you. And then I don't care what decision you make. If the decision is that you want to take care of your body, well, it really is figuring out how to provide the proper fuel for human cells to produce good health. And that's all you have to figure out. And what's funny is, as human beings, many people don't give a crap at all what they put in their mouth. Hey, this tastes good, that tastes good, whatever. They don't care what's in it. It's all about this eating food and satisfying themselves with regard to food because of its taste. Now, let me ask you this. If your car that's sitting out in the parking lot, if it was able to taste and it said, Kyle, I prefer diesel over gasoline, would you pour diesel in there?
No.
Why?
Because it doesn't take diesel.
Because it wouldn't use it properly and you wouldn't get to where you wanted to go with diesel in the tank. But it's still fuel, isn't it?
I mean, yeah.
Technically it is. Okay, well, how about if they introduced another fuel type that had only 50% octane instead of the high 80s or 90% octane that we have at the fuel pump? What if somebody said, oh, let's just put this low octane stuff in there? I'm talking about low quality gas that might have some water and whatever else mixed in it, but he goes, just throw that in your tank. Would you do it?
No.
Why not?
Because it's low quality.
It's low quality, just like a sucker is a low quality carb and a strawberry is a high quality carb. Put the strawberry in your mouth, not the sucker. Put the strawberry in your mouth, not the Snicker bar. It's not that hard to figure out. Your body will give you the performance that is relevant to whatever fuel type you're putting into it. So
now, just some success stories. My mom and I both switched to keto diet and intermittent fasting. My mom, who has diabetes, she completely stopped taking her night medicine because she didn't need it, because her blood level was completely below what it should be when she woke up.
Yeah,
so she stopped taking her night medicine, stopped taking her midday medicine. All she really takes is the morning medicine, and she takes half of that now. So she completely turned around on that.
That is amazing.
And I think she's lost like 30 pounds as well.
Yeah.
And one of my friends actually lost 70 pounds from January 1st switching to keto diet.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we also had someone on the show and like in the comments saying, hey, I also have arthritis. I switched to drinking apple cider vinegar in the morning and I don't feel pain. Is this real?
Yeah, it is real.
It's possible.
It is real.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's just research. It's a simple change and you'll feel way better. Now people are like, man, I really crave candy bars and oh, I love sugar. I can't think about not eating that. But it's like, well, that's kind of what addicts kind of go through when they're, people that drink alcohol and drugs and, well, they don't drink drugs, but yeah.
It's nothing more than an addiction, and your body has become accustomed to that low quality fuel you keep putting into it, and you develop cravings around carbs. Cravings are always around carbs. Have you ever had somebody go, man, I'm just absolutely craving more butter on my toast, or I'm absolutely craving an avocado, or I'm totally craving some more bacon fat with my bacon. No, the things that people are craving are always high carb, high sugar, junk food kinds of things. That's what you're craving. And what causes that craving is all the bad bacteria that's in somebody's gut. Bad bacteria creates these artificial hunger and cravings that you think you absolutely got to have this stuff. So here's the cool part. If you add I didn't mention anything about changing diet in all this stuff I was talking about this morning, did we? We were talking about adding in apple cider vinegar, adding in some cayenne pepper into your daily diet, and then doing intermittent fasting. Start with baby steps with all three and start using them. Guess what's going to happen to your diet as you're doing these? You'll start feeling so good about yourself, you will automatically start making better food choices. You'll go, oh, maybe I don't need that loaf of Wonder Bread. You know, I'm feeling so good. I think I'm going to treat my body to better food. I never mentioned any of the food stuff and the diet stuff, because if you start taking care of your gut with the apple cider vinegar and the cayenne pepper, and if you start doing intermittent fasting, so you're regulating your blood sugars and all that kind of stuff, and you keep moving forward on that whole journey. If you fall off the cart, I don't care if it's for a day, an hour, a week, a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever. You fall off the cart, get right back on it. Get right back on it. And you know, you think about somebody who wanted to go from destination from A to B, and the way to get there was to just ride the cart. If somewhere along the journey this person fell off the cart, and I asked them, well, what are you going to do? If you fell off, what are you going to do? And the person, I get back on it. Says, well, what if you actually fell asleep on the side of the road and the cart continues on down the road? When you wake up, do you get up and run down the road and try to find that cart? Or do you go all the way back to the beginning and hope there's another cart available, only to be disappointed that maybe there isn't, and then you sit over there and go, woe is me, there's no cart left for me. What you would always do is get up and go running after the cart that's going in the direction you want it to go. So it didn't matter if you fell off it, like I said, for an hour, for a day, for a week, for a month, for 6 months, for a year. Get back on the cart and accomplish your goals. So just a quick recap then. Again, apple cider vinegar, start using it in small amounts in your diet. Cayenne pepper, start sprinkling it on your foods and things like that. Use it in very small amounts because it is a very hot pepper, but it helps your digestive tract produce tons of additional enzymes. It also detoxifies your body, which I didn't mention before, but tons of health benefits from cayenne pepper. And then consider doing some intermittent fasting. Your gut health will become amazing.